Welcome back. Well, we all know what landscaping is, but have you heard of something called xeriscaping? Well, it turns out it's perfect for our yards here in Arizona, and as with all our gardening questions, we turn to Michael Ishmael from the Pima County Master Gardeners. Michael, thanks for being on again.
Thanks for having me, Alex.
It's always a pleasure. So I said a big word at the top, xeriscaping, and some people might have heard of it, some people might not, but give us a little bit of a taste of what it is.
Yeah, let's get into that a bit. Well, you know, as it's starting to get hot, we do need to be mindful of our landscapes and whether our plants are getting the water that we need. But also, we have this opportunity before the monsoon rains start pushing in from the south to take a step back and look at the design of our landscape and ask the question, does my yard work with the climate that I live in? When it rains, do the plants benefit from this water, or does it all just sort of run off and cause erosion?
Right, and the chances are that people have seen xeriscaping and they might not even know it, right?
Well, yeah. Well, you know, let me ask you this. When you think of Xeriscape, what sort of ideas or visualization comes to mind?
Well, by the way you described it, probably something very barren, very desert-like, with not a lot of greenery.
Well, you know, I hear that most of the time when I ask that question. And the reality is, let me tell you what xeriscaping actually is. It is a set of guiding principles.
Okay.
They're meant to help you design your yard so that it works with your ecosystem and with the climate that you're in. So a well-designed and built and maintained xeriscape garden is actually quite dense with vegetation and full of colors and textures, and it's very also effective at not only saving water, but also accomplishing your goals of how you want your yard to look.
God, it's kind of like feng shui in a way, I guess. If you design it that way, I guess it could be.
There certainly can be a flow to it, no doubt.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
You brought some examples with you, actually, of what sort of the landscape could look like, right?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, there are a few pictures that we're going to show.
Okay.
And you have some opportunities with the agricultural extension to go there and see what a xeriscape garden might look like.
Okay.
And they'll be showing us some pictures that will give you an idea of what that is. This is the front of the Xeriscape garden at the agricultural extension, and this area here would be considered the oasis zone.
Okay.
And so this is the area that is the closest to the house, and you can see right now it's just full of color and a lot of different, you know, textures with this design.
It's gorgeous. I mean, nothing like what I thought it looked like. You know,
Right.
It's not barren. It's not dark. It's not just dirt. There's a lot of beautiful plants in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you said oasis zone, and it's near the house. But what sort of makes it that?
Well, an oasis zone, and I can show you here with this little drawing that I brought. This is the house right here, and this zone closest to the structure, this is considered the oasis zone. And a principle of Xeriscape is that we have multiple zones, and the one closest to the house is also the wettest. This is where we have our higher water use plants.
Okay.
And so this actually keeps the house cooler. And as we move further away from the house, we go into what is considered a transition zone. And these are plants that are a little bit more drought tolerant. And the furthest from the house is your arid zone. And that is where you have your plants that really don't need any supplemental water at all.
Okay. That's incredible. So you have different zones. You're sort of organizing your yard. You know, you're sort of planning where each one goes. So you said we absolutely still need water. That might be a misconception too. People might think, well, if it's meant for an arid zone like Tucson, we don't really need water, but you do.
Yeah, that's true. You know, sometimes people confuse it with Xeriscape, thinking that they don't need any water at all.
Okay, like a Z-E-R-O, Xeriscape?
Right, but you know, it really depends on a lot of different factors. If you are using well-adapted native plants, and you also are maintaining a good natural mulch layer, then you find that you really need to do most of your watering in the drier, hotter parts of the year.
Okay.
So let me introduce a little concept though, and I'll kind of move over to this.
Shift
so,
it over.
Yeah, so there's this concept called passive rainwater retention. And so this is courtesy of Brad Lancaster. Actually, you could find this on his website at harvestingrainwater.com to kind of illustrate how we can benefit from the rainfall that we get here. We don't get a lot, but we need to really to make sure
Harness
that
it.
Right, absolutely. So here's a great example of what a lot of our typical landscapes look like. We have problems with runoff. You know, right here there's water that's building up against the house, and you can see these trees, they're not really benefiting from this. The water is just quickly running off the property and causing a lot of erosion. And here's this little guy here, you know, pulling his hair out because this landscape isn't really working the way that we want it to.
Right.
Now, with passive rainwater retention, this is what can happen with this landscape. Instead of allowing it to all just run off, we can design it with these basins. These are called infiltration basins, so that the water infiltrates into the soil instead of just running off.
Wow.
And you'll see a lot of times these pour over from one basin to another. You know, you can see here there's a gray water system that is using water from inside the house even to water the landscape. And so what you start getting when you save this water and you keep it on the landscape are bigger, lusher, fuller vegetation and a much cooler zone around the house.
Well, arguably all these basins and all this design makes your yard more beautiful. And I would never have thought of doing this and designing it that way, but that's really what the Master Gardeners do, is you guys bring awareness back to designing your yard and back to plants that people may not have thought of. And you guys are also an incredible resource. If they want to learn how to do this or anything else, you guys are great for that. So I'm going to tell them how to contact you guys and how to get in touch. And Michael, as always, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Alex. It's a pleasure to be here.
Definitely. Now, Pima County Master Gardeners are offering free demonstration garden tours every Wednesday and Saturday at 9 a.m. To learn more, visit extension.arizona.edu/Pima, or you can speak to a Master Gardener in the Plant Clinic by calling 626-5161.